but then finishing up kind of on the main points. And I mean, this really carried, man, I think it was about 40 minutes in, and it carried the rest of the stream, really, all this SEC and basically crypto legal stuff. But he mentioned that the SEC themselves say that they know seed words, that they have money in them, and that they'd owe taxes on them. We've seen him tweet about that before. They also have Uniswap code. They have time-locked Bitcoin and seed words for those. And without knowing what else those seed words do hold, they don't know what else they could actually hold by having those seed words by other entities and things like that. Right. So kind of his final call out there. I mean, what did you make of those comments? Because this is where I just don't understand where people hate on this guy so much. I understand that this is why I know it's a boring comparison at this point, but this is why, he always gets called the Donald Trump of cryptos, because people are fooled by this base layer of bull crap, that they're just not able to make it through for one reason or another. And they're missing the real meat and potatoes of what the guy has to say. And nobody else is really talking about these things to this extent. Or with this specificity, and especially with this like custody and coins and stuff like that by the SEC. So, what did you make of these comments to kind of round off the interview? And then I'll get any other thoughts you had on it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that kind of confused me is I wasn't sure what he was talking about. That they have the Uniswap code. I didn't really understand that as much. Either way, one of the things that he did say was, that they have these seed words. And I wonder how many airdrops that they've gotten that they would owe taxes on. And I think that's a big part too. We don't pay unrealized gains. We don't pay unrealized capital gains, I should say. Although they have talked about it before, but it's still not a law that we do that in the United States, is we don't pay unrealized capital gains. But
right.
If they did, they would have to be held accountable of that as well. I think that one of the big things and why he's looked at that way is because we're not all on the same side. You have to sit back and realize that the Bitcoiners are Bitcoiners. The DeFi people are DeFi people. There's probably 3 or 4 camps of people. You've got your Ripple, and that's kind of a little bit different. They've gone through their case. They're not, I think they consider themselves a little bit different. They're the bank coin. They want to be the bank coin.
Yeah.
You've got the Bitcoin folks who already think that their ruling's done. They don't really care what happens to anybody else because they've already ruled that, Bitcoin was a commodity. So they don't care. And then you have the Ethereum guys, and then, you have the Richard Hart people. Some of those intersect. I think we're doing a good job of kind of intersecting with the Ripple folks
right.
a little bit. But the problem is the lobbyists, the ones that go back to making these rules or to get the rules made for the judges. We're still in, and this was part of I'm sorry, I keep going back to the nuclear herbs thing. I keep remembering more of what I read. There was a lot of that discussion in there too, is getting everybody on the same side to make rules that are standard across the board. And again, the people doing the most lobbying are the Bitcoiners. And they don't really care. They don't want to see DeFi succeed because as far as they're concerned, Bitcoin is the only coin. A lot of them are that way. I don't want to say all of them, but a lot of them are that way. So, I mean, that's just where we're at. And there's got to be some sort of movement that's created by some communities in order to get the lobbyists to actually listen. And I just think that's where we're at. And Richard was kind of calling action. It was a call to action for people to file suit and get on this. He didn't specifically say, meet with the lobbyists and get some rules made so that we have clarity. But that's really essentially what needs to happen in order for this to go the right way. And it takes time or a precedent set by somebody else who wants to go first. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think there is already a lawsuit against either Gary Gensler personally, or the SEC by possibly Richard Hart and a team, and or other crypto entities outside of the exchanges that we already know have taken action, like Coinbase. Do you think the Charles Hoskinsons of the world, um, whoever the hell controls Solana at this point, I don't know. Do you think there are people? Do you think we just don't know about it yet, and major lawsuits will be coming against either the SEC or Gensler himself?
I think it needs to happen. If it
Yeah.
hasn't, I think it will. It takes more than a day to bring something like that together, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And a call to action. You want to do it the right way. You want to, get your ducks in a row. And DJ Moonboy, Jack Dorsey, he called him out too,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
for being an idiot. But yeah, so yeah, it takes time. Will there be? I think so. Are there currently? I don't know. I would hate to speculate on that. But I could easily see it happening very soon. Um, I think there's enough ammo there to say stop. Well, so Gensler does have immunity when he speaks on behalf of the SEC, but when he
Right.
speaks on behalf of himself, he loses that immunity. So that's a very important part of when he's talking outside of the congressional stuff and outside of the SEC rulings and on behalf of them, he loses that protection. So
Yeah.
something to think about.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If he starts going outside those lines and starts talking about what I, Gary Gensler, think personally, that's when
Yeah.
the immunity of
Yep.
the shield, it kind of goes away for you. So, yeah, overall though, terrific. I definitely think a lawsuit's in the works. I mean, I don't know. I assume by multiple entities. I think they're going to come attacking the SEC here soon because we've been in the bear market. We've been in like the SEC attacks everybody for the last 2 to 3 years or whatever. Now I think we're going to see the opposite. I could see
Yep.
on the way up everybody firing back, and I do not think that Gary Gensler is long for this world. As far as being the head of the SEC, I don't know anything else about him. But any other thoughts that you have on the Richard Hart stream there, Ewok, before we kind of get into the Pulse Chain leagues here?
I just think it would be a classic move by the Hexicans to be one of the first. And who knows how it would turn out. But to win a case against them that was brought against them,
Right.
I think it would be an amazing timestamp in history to say, wow, these guys really mean business, and probably give a little bit more credibility. There's still people out there that think that the Hexicans are crazy and that we're just sheep and we're following ourselves to slaughter. And that's just not the case. I think it would just get a lot more eyes on it, on the whole ecosystem, if we were some of the first ones to take them on and win. That would be pretty amazing. I would love to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very confident, and the crypto actions they're going to be taken against Gensler and the SEC here. I'm glad Coinbase has already gone on the offensive, and I think we're going to see it from these other entities as well.
Yeah.
So glad to see Richard Hart back. Who knows how much more we'll get of that stuff. It didn't seem like he planned necessarily on doing any of that often. I mean, he even reminded people at the beginning of the stream, like, hey, I just did like a 40-minute audio a little bit ago, and stuff like that. So it was cool to see him back, though. So, yeah, shout out to anybody. If you haven't seen that yet, I highly encourage you to watch it. You'll probably pick something up from it if you watch it even a couple of times like Ewok did. So